We're staying with a sweeping reconstitution of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The biggest news today, we saw President Bola Tinubu approving the immediate removal of the NNPC chairman, Pius Akinyelure, and the group chief executive officer, Mele Kyari. The new 11-man board now has Bashir Ojulari as group CEO and Amadu Kida as non-executive chairman. President Tinubu has now handed out an immediate action plan to the new board to conduct, one, a strategic portfolio review of the NNPC operated and joint venture assets to ensure alignment with value maximization objectives. The administration also envisions the increasing investment to $30 billion by 2027 and $60 billion by 2030. President Tinubu also expects the new board to elevate NNPC's share of crude oil refining output to 200,000 barrels by 2027 and reach an ambitious 500,000 by 2030. But with complex challenges in global oil markets and Nigeria's energy needs, what does this mean for Nigerian economy and the average Nigerian? Let's bring in CEO of Economic Associates, Dr. Bayo Onanuga, for more on this development. Dr. Onanuga, thanks for joining us on the program this evening. This is perhaps the most sweeping NNPC leadership change we've seen in recent years. From an economic perspective, what signals does this send to investors and the international community about our oil sector stability?
Right. Good evening, Nifemi. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm pleased to be here. Good evening, viewers. The signal it sends, the reconstitution of the board of the NNPC by Excellency the President, Bola Tinubu, not just about Nigeria's oil sector, but as you know, oil is still a very major pillar of the Nigerian economy. It's also a very, very important economic pillar. Some of us wanted, to see this in the first month of the president being in the saddle, and we had been somewhat disappointed. But it's better late than never. I am very pleased by the caliber of people that the president has assembled. If there is a phrase like the best of the best, I think he has managed to put together a very inspiring team.
It appears we lost Dr. Onanuga for a minute there. The Petroleum Industry Act no doubt grants Mr. President this power. But there are questions as to whether such abrupt removal of the entire board, doesn't send us a negative signal in such a way. Dr. Onanuga, we lost you for a minute. You were talking about the quality of the persons that have been appointed and the capacity of the new board. Dr. Onanuga.
Yeah, I'm impressed by the quality of the team that the president has assembled, especially the non-executive directors that he has pulled together from the 6 geopolitical zones. These are reputable players in the Nigeria's oil and gas sector, running back several decades. If this team cannot get it right, you wonder which team would. So I do think that it's better late than never. The president deserves, the commendation for finally doing to the NNPC what he had done earlier on to the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Indeed, so, Dr. Onanuga. Precisely, Dr. Onanuga, what does this mean for the Naira to crude deal? Especially seeing what has happened in recent days. The first phase of the 6-month deal expired on the last day of March, and we've seen an instant increment in the price of fuel. What do you recommend that this board, does differently?
That's not a question for you to answer. It's not a question for me to answer. The first 6 months had ended with the term of the board that has been dissolved. And so if that ended on the 31st of March and you have a new board on the 2nd of April, you have to wait for the new board to address the issue. So let's not try to push them to walk in the shadows of the board that has left.
What's your thought about that deal?
The problem,
what's your thought about that deal and its impact on, petroleum price as we know it in Nigeria?
A board has been appointed, and their appointment takes effect from today. So let them get on the saddle and leave them to deal with those issues. All right. Don't let us posture as if we know better than them, on the job that the president has assembled them to do. If we mean what we say about the quality that they represent, we should have confidence that they will deal with the issue and that they will deal with it with dispatch.
All right, quick one. We have to go now. The new chairman, Amadou Kida, comes from Total Energies, while the CEO is ex-Shell. There are conversations around the private sector pedigree and what it guarantees as regards better performance, than what the usual bureaucrats would have given us. But we're also seeing a situation here where you look at the board members, and quite a number of them have the LNG experience. Is this some tacit admission that we're going gas and not oil, especially with the goal to increase to 10 billion cubic feet by 2030? What's your thought on that quickly?
Right. Yeah, you have a previous MD of NLNG as a non-executive director. You have a previous group executive director of gas in NNPC itself as another group executive director. Yeah, you have a good mix. It's not just gas. It's, you have enough people, who have background in oil as well. About the transition that they have to manage, they know more about this industry than you and I. So I'm not going to try and be second guessing them. I'm going to eagerly wait and let them begin to speak, about what they want to achieve. I mean, I've seen the targets that the president has set for them. But we should also remember that we have a global energy transition underway. And it's important that they strike a balance between what they do to oil and gas and what they do to renewables as well.
CEO Economic Associate Dr. Ayotariba, thank you so much for talking to us on the program.